What's going on, sports fans? This is Jake Waxman.
And Tyler Lavalette.
Coming to you live from the studio here in Waterford with yet another Friday Roundtable. And of course, dare I say this again, let's start off the day with more baseball talk.
Absolutely. Following 4 days off in Atlanta for the All-Star break with the Home Run Derby on Monday and the All-Star game on Tuesday, followed by 2 extra days to get players back to their respective teams. We are back at it with baseball today. The Chicago Cubs started the second half off with a 4-1 victory over the Red Sox at Wrigley Field. And the Detroit Tigers, meanwhile, are set to play the Texas Rangers tonight in Arlington to start their weekend series, with Sunday's game being shown nationally on ESPN.
And just like that, the second half of the season is, well, rolling along and underway. So, Tyler mentioned the All-Star game. I mean, kept up with the score of it. It ended up in the time. We ended up, I believe, to break the tie, they had like a home run derby or something.
Yes, it was called, it was a swing-off. Kyle Schwarber helped win it for National League by getting all 3 of his swings and home runs. And now I'm not sure if it's going to mean this is going to be what we're going to have for play innings going forward or not. I mean, we just had only 1 game with this for the first time since they were announced in 2022. It hasn't been needed until this year. So, jury's still out on if this is how we're going to decide the game going forward.
Interesting format or interesting concept in deciding the tiebreaker for the All-Star game, but it's kind of fun in a way.
Absolutely.
So, with that being said, and now with the All-Star game behind us, Cubs off to a really good start to the second half of the season, as Tyler mentioned, with a 4-1 victory over the Boston Red Sox. And there'll be more games between them and the Red Sox, another one tomorrow on Saturday. And this is all right. Being a Cubs fan, can't relax, can't rest, because I have seen this too many times, even just watching a few Cubs games in the past. This is the point in the season where things maybe don't go as well as could be for the Cubs, or it starts rolling the wrong way, downward spiral, collapse or meltdown, whatever you want to say. The Cubs have had problems with this since winning the World Series in 2016. So, going forward, I've said this before, and you know what? I'm not gonna shut up about this, sports fans. The bats need to stay loud for the Cubs. All right. This is how they've been winning games. Loud bats combined with solid defense when the bats are quiet, like we're saying like in a 4-1 game. And you know what? The bullpen's got a ways to go. That's my biggest concern with this Cubs team going into the second half. The bullpen has been shaky at times. Some games they look really good, and then other times it's really, really difficult to watch.
Right. Tigers came into the All-Star break getting swept by Seattle at home. And I'm really worried about the bullpen as well. And some of the guys in positions, there are times when our guys might do good and times where they struggle. And man, that bullpen has not been helping at all. And I feel like we're going to need some really help in the reliever department when we get towards early August with the trade deadline coming up. My question is, how do the Tigers respond with them starting the second half down in Texas? That is going to be quite interesting to see if they can be the first team to get the 60 wins, which I thought they were going to do during last weekend, but like I said, that did not happen. They could still get to that this weekend, though. We'll see.
Yes, we will. And sounds like, Tyler, the bullpen for the Tigers just need to kind of, take a deep breath, relax, and just take it one game at a time. Focus on one game only. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. Same with the Cubs. And, I kind of have a similar question when it comes to the Cubs. Like, what adjustments have they made going into the second half of the season? And, of course, we still got the trade deadline around the 31st of this month. Mm-hmm. What moves do both of our teams plan to make? That's what I'm wondering, too. Like, what are the Cubs looking for, if anything, in this trade deadline? Are they looking for some more pitching? Are they trying to strengthen that bullpen? Or Do they need some more offense? Like, loads more of offense? That remains to be seen.
Now it's important to know neither the Tigers players that we sent to Atlanta did not really contribute much per se. But then again, they only got used like one time, and some of our guys didn't pitch that much. So the taxation isn't too bad in the All-Star game when you have to use all of your players that get sent to where it's at. In this case, Atlanta. Philadelphia's hosting it next year, and reports are coming out that 27 could be Wrigley Field hosting it.
Ooh, okay. All right, I like the sound of that. Wrigley Field 2027. If that is the truth, then let's go. Being a guy who's been to Wrigley Field with my man Tyler for the first time back last year. Great venue to host a baseball game, and just great venue all around to just experience, of course. Mm-hmm. So with all this being said, I mean, I didn't hear much about like what the Cubs did during the All-Star game, but it's not like the biggest concern. Right now, the concern for the Cubs now, it shifts towards, stringing together consistent performances in terms of games won. Like one win at a time, one game at a time. Uh-huh. As Tyler said, it's a marathon. And Cubs are off to a good start in the second half so far. But now they got to really they got to bring it tomorrow, Got to bring that consistent performance against the Boston Red Sox. Yep, I said Boston. Going with that accent, having a little too much fun with it. Boston.
Yeah.
I know that was bad, sports fans. That was really bad.
Accent.
Yep, call that cringe, if you will. It was.
Yeah, I hope the Tigers do good against Texas, and then they play 3 in Pittsburgh against the Pirates before coming home to play Toronto in 4 games.
And likewise, just hoping that Cubs take care of business at historic Wrigley Field against another historic team in the Boston Red Sox. Mm-hmm. That's where I'll leave this subject.
Absolutely. And, yeah, I can't really say much because my team hasn't played yet. I hope they do well. And, yeah, we can keep being the best team in baseball right now and cruise to a good win in the Central and maybe go points beyond.
There you go, Tom. So, and I guess one final thing I will say is, I got confidence in your team, Tyler. I believe that they'll get things right. Slow start after the All-Star game, but you know what? Plenty of time to turn things around, and sometimes these things happen. It's baseball. Mm-hmm. Just all the Tigers really got to do is just take a deep breath and keep the focus one game at a time. Same with the Cubs. Speaking of, all right, so we're on the subject. While we're on the subject of the sports off season. Things are heating up a little bit in the NFL. We're getting towards training camp, of course. But there is some big news out of Pittsburgh. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with Aaron Rodgers. I can promise you that. This is big, though. It involves arguably Pittsburgh's best player, T.J. Watt. He and the Steelers have just agreed to a contract extension. So I want to give credit to CBS Sports and ESPN who have done a lot of the heavy reporting on this story. Word on the block is T.J. Watt has signed a 3-year, $123 million contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This contract would go through, I believe, the 2028 season, according to CBS and ESPN. And also, here's an interesting fact that I learned. With this contract, this officially makes T.J. Watt the highest paid non-quarterback football player in NFL history.
That's pretty impressive. And I think this isn't really a bad deal per se. This really gives him someone to work with for whatever quarterback comes when Aaron Rodgers retires. So that's something to really consider. It really need to think about who's going to really help out T.J. Watt in throwing the ball when that happens.
Just to give you, keep in mind that T.J. Watt is on the defensive side.
Okay. So he's going after opposing quarterbacks then. I stand corrected. Thank you.
No problem. But so So, of course, Tyler is right about one thing, though. The Steelers will have to look towards, like, their quarterback of the future come after this season, probably, because it's likely going to be Rodgers' last season. But that's not their focus right now. They're focused on getting ready for all the preseason football. And now with T.J. Watt under contract for 3 more years, they're probably like, whew, glad to have that done so we can go play some football and not have too many holdouts. So.
He's really going to terrorize the Bengals, Browns, and Ravens in the AFC North, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the fan bases of all 3 of those teams, they probably looked at the news and they're just like, you gotta be kidding me. No, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, I'm not sure how heartbroken Browns are because of, So, seriously, that was such a bad hire decision there, Cleveland,
man.
if you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So, anyway, good move by the Steelers. I mean, T.J. Watt, the skill set, it speaks for itself. The guy, when he's on the field, absolute general on defense and an absolute nightmare. Or calling him nightmare fuel for quarterbacks, if that's what you want to say about him. Because that guy, he gets after quarterbacks, and he can make big-time plays on defense when the Steelers need him to most. And even in the seasons where they didn't make the playoffs, they were in a lot of their games because T.J. Watt could make those plays. So the contract, as I mentioned, it goes through 2028. This could take T.J. Watt to potentially the end of his NFL career, depending on, as we say, aging. And this is kind of, which brings me to one of my next points, whether or not this is going to work out for the Steelers. It's on paper, it's a good signing for now. And he's still got plenty to prove, or not as much to prove, but plenty to show in the NFL. Now, whether or not it all works out for Pittsburgh, just all comes down to, a couple simple things. One, how fast is T.J. Watt's body aging? And because all athletes, they age. And 2, injuries. T.J. Watt, he's had injuries in the past, all right? And he's had some problems in the last few years with battling the injury bug. So that could be that's the big thing to watch out for this contract in terms of whether or not this works out for the Steelers. Whether or not if he can stay healthy and not have too many injury problems, then this is a really, really fine deal for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Now, conversely, if you take the opposite of what Jake just said,
oh no,
then that contract is not looking all that good. Now, okay, time will tell, though, so we'll see. We can only just speculate right now.
Yep. As with the, injuries or battling the injury bug and age, those are 2 of the things that could be the difference between this contract being resourceful for the Steelers or one ginormous anchor.
Hello, Aaron Rodgers in New York.
One final thing I'd like to mention in terms of this subject. So, a couple weeks ago, I had a guest on the show who subbed in for Tyler Lavalette. His name was Jeff Decker, and he was an absolute great guest. On that show, he and we talked about the T.J. Watt, and we talked about, we're drawn up in our imagination what would it be like if the Bears or the Lions were somehow able to get him, and just imagine how much of a nightmare both of those defenses would be for opposing NFL offenses. I mean, talk about restoration of the monsters of the Midway, or a whole new 2-headed or 3-headed monster in Motown. Well, now that is just fragments of our imagination. Granted, it was going to be a long shot to get for either of those 2 teams or anyone to get T.J. Watt. I figured the Steelers would find a way to keep him and sign him to a respectable deal that benefits both sides, but it's still a bummer. I would have loved to have seen him on that Bears defense.
And conversely, I would have loved to have seen him on the Lions defense alongside guys like Aiden Hutchinson. Oh, well.
Yep. Or him with Montez Sweat. Well, like I said, we can only draw this up in our mindset, because now it's just alternate football history, or whatever you want to call it, if we think back on it.
Well.
Yep. It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So me and Tyler, shifting gears, the other day, we texted each other, and on the day that both the Red Wings and the Blackhawks, by the way, both of these 2 teams going into their 100th season. How about that?
Crazy. And also appropriate for that centenary, for the Wing side, is that their home opener is against a fellow Original Six team in the Montreal Canadiens.
Of course. In case you're wondering, just to backtrack a little, we are talking about the schedules of both the Red Wings and the Blackhawks. Both teams, as well as the other NHL fan bases, have released their schedules for this upcoming NHL season. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a lowdown. So the Blackhawks, I'll start with this. They definitely have their work cut out for them to start the season because they're opening on the road, and they're opening on the road at, who else? The Florida Panthers, the defending champions of all teams. How about that for a must-see TV for the NHL, though? Original Six against your defending and back-to-back Stanley Cup champion in the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting. And it's also crazy that hockey is thriving in Florida, of all places. Freaking Florida. And it didn't work one state to north in Atlanta. But it didn't. But it's successful in Florida? What, is some state doing well that at other southern markets like Atlanta aren't?
Well, only thing I could tell you about that, folks, is let there be a lesson learned. Yes, you can have hockey in a state where everybody likes to play on the beach. Because there's plenty of beaches in Florida. But you know what? There's plenty of good hockey there, too. And that's all thanks to both the Lightning and the Panthers, who have had successful management across the board.
That they are. Anyway, let's get back to our schedule, shall we? When I looked at the Wing schedule, we start at home against Montreal and Toronto. And what's interesting is, we need to bring this up. Much of February will not have any hockey because the players are going to be taking part in the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina d'Ampezzo, Italy, and which means, consequently, the Red Wings won't have a single home game that month. They'll only be playing 4 times, all 4 times on the road.
Speaking of brutal road grinds, as Tyler mentioned, his Red Wings are playing 4 games on the road in February. The Blackhawks, very early on in the season, one thing I noticed when I was looking at their schedule, they have a 6-game road stretch that starts at the end of October and goes all the way through the beginning of November. But 6 games, 6 straight games on the road. Brutal. So this Blackhawks team, they're going to have their work cut out for them. Of course, here's the big thing, Tyler. That final game in that 6-game road stretch ends in Motown against the Red Wings.
And surprisingly enough for that matchup, a day game at that.
A 1 p.m. game on a Sunday.
Well, I mean, you don't want to go up against the Lions, so.
Oh, that's true. I forgot. We're in the middle of the NFL season at that point. So that would be Detroit sports would be cannibalizing. The sports teams would be cannibalizing each other for ratings.
Yeah, luckily the Tigers aren't worried about that by then. And as for the Detroit, for the return leg, that's going to be in the middle of December on a Saturday night, if I remember correctly.
That is correct. So Blackhawks again with that brutal 6-game road stretch early on the season, and ending in the Blackhawks at the Red Wings. And then the second of those 2 matchups, you sports fans want to know this. So both games this season, they're both going to be in 2025. The second matchup, which is in Chicago, will be on the 13th of December. So which means that, sadly, just barring the start of next season into 2026, there will actually be no Red Wings Blackhawks matches in 26. I'm not sure how to feel about that.
It could be worrying if we have the 26-27 schedule, not have a single game if both games are played in 27.
Yeah.
We'll see. But anyway, as far as the Wings go, what I see, we're getting our West Coast West Coast swings, the words of our West Coast stuff early. Because the games against San Jose, Anaheim, and the Kings in 1. And you got another trip that might involve Seattle and the Western Canadian teams. Especially the 2 in Alberta. So we're getting them out of the way early on, which is a good thing in its own right.
I also believe the Blackhawks, I can't say 100% for sure. I'm certain that, like, I know when the Blackhawks have to face their West Coast swings, but I do know in one part of the season they're going to face the LA Kings back to back. I think the first time will be in Chicago, and then they'll have to travel all the way to Los Angeles to play the Kings in Los Angeles.
We got a few back-to-back home and homes as well on our end as well. They're likely doing this because of the crunch because of the scheduling in Milan. The good news is we won't have to worry about that until 2030 if the NHL and NHLPA agree to send the players out by then, and at that point when they go into France and Spain.
Yes, sir. I mean, a lot to look forward to in this upcoming Winter Olympics. One final thing I'd like to say about the Blackhawks schedule. So I mentioned the 6-game road stand early on the season. Now, at the end of the season, here's a critical part of their schedule. Their final 4 games, final 4 for the Blackhawks, all at home. This could be really pivotal for the Blackhawks if they're actually against all odds in playoff position. I don't think they'll be this season, but if they have a chance to make the playoffs, they're right in the mix. That 4-game homestand will be even more critical than ever. Mm-hmm. And that final game, their final game of the season, how about this? They're at home against San Jose. So this would be a battle of the two teams who got the number 1 picks the seasons before the New York Islanders this year. So San Jose in last year, and then 2 seasons ago, the Blackhawks, and when they got Connor Bedard. So little Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini rivalry coming up to end the season.
We'll see.
Time will tell.
Also, time will tell on how New Islanders' top pick does as well. So there's that.
Yep, I'm curious to see how the new Blackhawks do. Although most of them will probably still be in the minor leagues or in college, building up their skills and getting ready. Mm-hmm. One final thought I'd like to say. So with both of the Blackhawks Redwings matchups in both one in November, one in December, I'm curious to see, with the season being as early on as it is, the matchups are going to, between those two teams, Tyler, they're going to be a lot more scrutinized, especially when you consider you got one team that's rebuilding and another team that looked like they were on their way to the playoffs last year and then just fizzled out. Although this year could be different for the Red Wings if they can put everything together.
Yeah, we'll see how things go for the Wings.
Yep, got to put it like complete season, Like you said for baseball, absolute marathon. And if the Red Wings can put this marathon together, they can make the playoffs. Now, for the Blackhawks, I think we still got the ways to go. I'm just, to all you Blackhawks fans out there, I'm just being brutally honest. I just hope we improve, and we improve a lot this upcoming season.
Right, that's all you can really hope for. You had to pay the tax eventually when you won those 3 Stanley Cup titles a decade ago.
That is right, Tyler. After all those championships, the check always comes, and it's always a steep price to pay. Mm-hmm. So, but, hey, I'll take 3 Stanley Cups, and I'll take, Cap Hill following 3 Stanley Cups.
I wonder how much Florida is going to take the eventual cap hits when those come, and also to factor in Tampa as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And especially since I think they re-signed Sam Reinhart, or Sam Bennett, I think it was. Because with that contract, I mean, that's going to add much more to the cap situation at Florida. And, we'll see. I mean, big question going into the season, of course, is can anyone stop Florida? I mean, I don't think the cap is going to be a problem this season, but next season, we're going to find out. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll just save our predictions when we get closer into October. That's for sure.
Amen to that. All right, sports fans, we've reached the end of the show, and we are ready to end the show with this week's golden moment in sports. And today, I thought we'd do something a little different. Animal incursions, they happen quite a bit in sports, but sometimes the incursion is intentional, as is the case at this White Sox game. Can we see the clip, please? So what we have at this White Sox game is a penguin. That's right, a penguin. Oh, this is the clip from earlier.
And now he's in the stands. The squirrel, he's low to the ground, Dick. Back in 2001 in spring training in Tucson.
Oh, okay, we got multiple animal incursions. Look at this guy.
Look at that squirrel.
This is a squirrel.
And the bird. We got bird.
Okay,
The Seagull
First of all,
right between
I
the
meant to only
pitcher
send the
and
penguin. I
the
didn't realize I
pitcher
sent
and
the
hitter.
whole thing.
Yeah, all
Sorry,
the crowd
sports fans.
went.
All right, we'll just call it this week's.
It is.
Oh, look at this. That.
Oh,
Now,
You know what? This is all.
seriously?
You know what? Sometimes in sports you got to improvise, and sometimes animal incursions like these force you to improvise. As is the case, we see a lot of squirrels, we see a lot of birds. Sometimes we even see penguins too, who think they need to throw out the first pitch, and when they don't get that opportunity, they stare you in the eye like, "You promised me a first pitch. The zoo brought me over here for a reason. Come on." So.
Sheesh. Maybe next week we'll hopefully get all the kinks worked out on that one.
Yep. But sports fans, this also is, all right, I mentioned gold moments in sports. There'll be a lot of animal ones. I can promise you that. So think of this gold moment in sports, animals edition, as a sign of things to come for
Bit of
golden
a
moments in sports.
Teaser or an appetizer, if you will.
Who wants some bird? Who wants some seagull? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I seriously. And don't worry, but we had some funny incidents with a squirrel earlier in the season at a Tigers game that got our broadcasters funny, riled up in laughter. I'll try to find footage of that for you.
Yeah. And sometime down the road, I can promise you this, sports fan, sometime around October to November, we're going to revisit the infamous Black Cat Run at MetLife Stadium.
See if you can find the Kevin Harlan call.
I'll do my best there. All right. Without further ado, sports fans, me and Tyler, we're hoping you're having a great week and enjoying the warm weather. I mean, it's been hot outside. With that being said, as we prepare to sign off, I want to give a special thanks to my man Tyler Lavalette. Without him, none of this would be possible. And to all the people who work here at the studios here in Waterford, thank you so much for all you do, because without you folks, this would not even be possible.
We genuinely appreciate each and every week, and there is definitely good reason as to why we always, always, always say thanks to them.
Thank you very much to everyone who makes this possible.
Absolutely.
With that being said, if you guys want to see more of these kind of videos, follow me and Tyler on Two Guys Talk Sports and other things on YouTube, and Two Guys Talk Sports on Facebook for more of these wonderful videos. And with that being said, we're going to sign off. So this is Jake Waxman.
And Tyler Lavalette.
Wishing you all a good week. And have a great weekend, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.